On Christmas Day 2021, a rocket containing the James Webb Telescope took off from a European spaceport.
Liftoff from a tropical rainforest to the edge of time itself, James Webb begins a voyage back.
Its goal is to expand the known universe and to see light that is 13 billion years old. But first, the telescope will have to travel nearly 1 million miles. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite into space.
Today, a new moon is in the sky, a 23-inch metal sphere placed in orbit by a Russian rocket.
The satellite, called Sputnik, was a sign that the Soviet Union was winning the space race. The United States government created NASA the following year. Here is NASA's federal funding. At the beginning, a lot of money was directed to the agency, but once Americans had landed on the moon, the agency's funding was never the same. But while NASA was shrinking, a lot of ideas started going around. One of the ideas that gained the most support was for a massive telescope in space. Wait, why do we need telescopes in space? The main reason is our atmosphere. It blocks out most of the light coming in, which is great for our skin and prevents it from getting burned. But it makes it hard to see distant galaxies. One of the other increasingly problematic reasons can be shown in this graph. This is the number of active satellites over the past 60 years. There is a dramatic increase over the past few years, and you can credit much of that to SpaceX, Elon Musk's space company. Of these nearly 4,000 working satellites, 1,700 of them are part of Starlink, SpaceX's program to provide internet anywhere in the world via satellites. SpaceX wants to launch another 30,000 satellites, with approval to launch 12,000. But Musk's plans pose problems for astronomers, some of whom have had their work disrupted by the passing Starlink satellites. In fact, astronomers asked a UN committee to consider taking action against SpaceX for the number of satellites. China filed a complaint against SpaceX after its space station nearly collided with Starlink satellites on 2 separate occasions. Congress was sold on the space telescope concept and approved construction in 1977. The telescope was named after Edwin Hubble, an important astronomer, and work began. The way the Hubble Space Telescope works is very complicated, so here's the really simplified version. There is a big primary mirror that reflects light into a smaller secondary mirror in the center. The secondary mirror reflects the light from the primary through this gap. Here, there are instruments that record the data in 3 separate kinds of light. These are all compiled onto each other to get a photo. Ultimately, the telescope cost $2 billion to build. The scientists behind Hubble were hoping for a launch in 1983, but they were unable to meet the deadline. Not only were they trying to make the most powerful telescope ever created, but they were trying to make it work in Earth's orbit. The launch was delayed even more after the explosion of the shuttle Challenger. Hubble wouldn't launch until 1990, over 12 years after development started. But within a few weeks of Hubble's deployment, a major flaw would be discovered. The company which had been contracted with constructing the mirror had incorrectly polished the mirror by a very small amount, only 1/50th of a human hair. This tiny imperfection prevented Hubble from getting sharp focus on galaxies. NASA was called into question if it could handle other projects since this had gone so badly. In 1993, with its reputation at risk, the agency launched 7 astronauts to fix Hubble.
And we have liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour on an ambitious mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope.
Although it was successful, that mission is estimated to have cost $700 million. And it wouldn't be the last time something went wrong. Astronauts have performed maintenance on the Hubble 4 additional times, It allowed the telescope to last over 30 years and still operate today. During these 30 years, the Hubble made many discoveries, including the age of the universe and the rate it is expanding. Construction started on an even bigger telescope in 1996. This new telescope was named after James Webb, a NASA administrator who is now considered controversial. The James Webb expected a 2007 launch. Unfortunately, hopes were crushed by the project's ambitious goals. The project was so slow that in 2011, Congress was even considering canceling the telescope. But after nearly 2 decades of work, the telescope was finally ready. The primary mirror is 3 times larger than Hubble's mirror, letting it bring in more light. The telescope is so big that today's rockets can't fit it, so it's designed to unfold once in space. If a single thing goes wrong, the telescope could be unusable, and unlike the Hubble, Webb wasn't designed to be serviced by astronauts. This is because while the Hubble was designed for low Earth orbit, only 340 miles from Earth, the James Webb will travel 930,000 miles. The telescope costs $10 billion, but is only expected to be usable for a decade. After many delays, the James Webb was finally launched on Christmas Day. We should be getting the first pictures from the telescope this summer.
Punching a hole through the clouds, 20 seconds into the flight, good pitch program reported.
Trajectoire est nominale.
Vehicle performance is nominal. The Ariane 5 rocket continues to fly.